This video is about the decision tree. What is a decision tree? The basic idea is simple. A decision tree helps us use existing data to make a prediction for new data. Simply put, with the help of existing data, we can create a decision tree. This decision tree can then be used to make predictions for new data. But how does that work? And how is a decision tree created? Let's look at an example. Let's say you work at Netflix and you want to know whether a customer is likely to churn or not. In other words, will this customer cancel the subscription or will he or she stay? To make this prediction, we of course need data. We know how often a customer uses Netflix, we know whether usage has decreased in recent weeks, and we know whether there were support requests. We also know whether the customer churned or not. With this data, we now want to predict whether a customer is likely to churn or not. To start simple, we first use only one variable. So we want to know whether the variable usage decreased gives us information about whether a customer is more likely to churn or not. For this, we build a small decision tree. At the top is the question, usage has decreased. The tree now splits the customers into two groups. One group contains all customers whose usage has decreased, and the other group contains all customers whose usage has not decreased. Now we look at each group. How many customers actually churned and how many customers stayed. For example, in the group usage decreased, yes, 4 people churned and 2 stayed. Now we can check whether this split is useful for the prediction. But how do we do that? First, let's look at the original data. In our full data set, 4 customers churned and 4 customers stayed. Without any additional information, our estimation would therefore be about 50-50. Now we split the customers by the variable usage has decreased. In the group usage decreased, yes, 4 out of 6 customers churned. That corresponds to about 67%. In the group usage decreased, no. On the other hand, no customer churned. Of course, this is only a very small example dataset, but you can already see the basic idea. The split creates groups in which the customers differ more clearly. And this allows us to make a better prediction than by using only the overall average. We can now do exactly the same for support requests. We split the users into one group that made a support request and one group that did not. And of course, this also works for the last variable, hours per week. Hours per week is a numerical variable, so we do not have categories, but numerical values. For numerical variables, the decision tree therefore looks for a suitable threshold. For example, the threshold could be less than or equal to 4 hours. So the tree checks which customers stream 4 hours or less and which customers stream more. The question now is, of course, which threshold to use. You could also use 5 hours as the threshold. The tree simply tests which threshold splits the customers best. Okay, now we have created 3 separate, very simple decision trees. But we do not want 3 separate trees. We want one large tree. How do we do that? Let's look at this in Numiko. We simply use the same example, but with a little more data. You can download the example dataset using the link in the video description. We click on Predictive Analytics. Then we select churns as the dependent variable. This is the variable we want to predict. We select the other 3 variables as independent variables. These variables should be used for the prediction. Now we can see the complete decision tree here. The algorithm starts with the variable usage decreased. This means, in this dataset, this variable provides the best first split. So the tree first splits the customers into 2 groups. customers whose usage has decreased, and customers whose usage has not decreased. After that, the tree continues within each group. In the group usage decreased, yes, the next split is based on the support request. On the other side, the tree looks at hours per week. So the tree works its way down step by step. At each branch, a simple question is asked, and at the end of each path, there is a prediction. For example, if usage has not decreased and the customer watches more than 4.5 hours per week, the prediction is no, the customer does not churn. This is how a complete decision tree is created from several simple rules. Here we can also see very clearly why decision trees are so popular compared with many other predictive analytics methods. A decision tree may not always deliver the best prediction, but it has one major advantage. You can follow the decision step by step. We can see which variable was used first, we can see which rules come next, and we can see why a particular customer is ultimately classified as likely to churn or likely to stay. Of course, the main reason we create such a model is to make predictions for new data. For this, we click here. Now we can enter the values for which we want to make a prediction in this table. For example, 5 hours per week, usage decreased no, and support request yes. And our prediction is no, so this customer does not churn. Of course, we can also use copy and paste to paste in several rows at once. But usually you want to test your model first and see how good it is. Then you can click here and paste in data where you know the observed values for churns. These should be different data from the data you used for training. This then shows how well the model works on new or previously unknown data. Okay, but what exactly are random forest or gradient boosting? We will look at that in the next video. Thanks for watching. I hope to see you soon.